Let me take you back to March 18th, 2017. What happened that day? Nothing that you can remember. But I can't seem to forget. It was my birthday. My 21st, to be exact. Now, I'm not big on birthday parties. Instead of throwing a party, I went to a friend's house to celebrate my birthday. It was a Saturday night, like any other, really. Enjoying some milk and cookies? When it happened. My heart rate ran wild, vision was tunneling, a black hole formed in my chest and the pressure became unbearable. I couldn't breathe, my body was shaking violently, bathed in sweat from head to toe. Nausea kicked in and my abdomen cramped up, every muscle tensed up. I started to lose all sense of reality. Panic had set in. Was I gonna die here? Was this it? What was happening to me? I was among friends at this point. More than just friends, these were my best friends. They noticed something was off. Why did I tell them that I was okay when I so clearly wasn't? I did because I didn't want to freak them out. I didn't need them to worry about me. I could handle this by myself. Why would I need their reassurance? As the night went on, the feeling did not subside. Some semblance of calm luckily allowed me to fall asleep. But I woke up in the morning. Muscle spasms shot through my body, every muscle feeling achy and stiff, the center point being my jaw, which felt like I was in a tightening vice, giving off the sensation of my skull being crushed. My heart rate was going crazy again, limbs feeling like noodles. I was weak and dizzy, my stomach was fucking killing me. But there was something else. Something indescribable. A general sense of intense discomfort, of oncoming doom. The fuck was happening to me? I went downstairs to make breakfast and my parents were there. I didn't tell them. I didn't want to freak them out. 10 months later, I was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, so what I want to do with this video is explain to you how a video game can teach you the lessons you need to cope with anxiety. Some changes you can make to your thought patterns to accommodate this voice in your head telling you all those scary things. Basically, I'm going to tell you how to cope with anxiety, so you better listen up.
Excuse me? What now?
Huh? I'm going to give people instructions on how they can cope with anxiety. What's so hard to understand about that?
Oh, so you were just going to flash your credentials and start lecturing people? Yeah. You're not doing that, you pompous cretin. You're not a psychologist, you're a communication major. Know your place.
Wow! So you insult me and then expect me to go along. Who are you again?
Back to the oven with this idea because it's not happening. It's not your place to tell others how to cope with anxiety, and you know it isn't. You're gonna tell a story, but it's not the one you want to.
Well then what story am I gonna tell?
You're gonna tell the full story.
But that's so much more work! I also really don't want to! Fine. I think it's essential for me to start this video with a disclaimer. What I'm going to be talking about is how I coped with general anxiety disorder and PTSD. Now, my story is just one of hundreds of millions. It's not my place to tell others how to cope with anxiety. We all have our methods for coping, some wise, some not. If I can impart just one thing to you, it's that if you recognize yourself in my story and are hesitant about seeking help, please reach out to others. You may have perfectly valid reasons not to seek it, whether they're financial, social, practical, emotional, or whatever else. I am begging you to reconsider the importance of your mental health. I speak from experience when I say that you have so much more to gain from it than you think. Before I move on to the meat of the video, what you came for, how Dark Souls can teach you to cope with anxiety, I first have to tell you about the time between my 21st birthday and the day I got my diagnosis. I'll admit, it's kind of a tall order to argue that a video game can teach you to cope with mental illness, so I want to properly contextualize my arguments. For that, I need to tell you the full story. I guess you could skip to this point if you don't care about context. You'll regret it though. Don't think the video's going to make much sense, but hey, it's up to you. Now, let's do a quick rewind and go back to the beginning. I went downstairs to make breakfast and my parents were there. I didn't tell them. I didn't want to freak them out. Even if I did want to tell them, I didn't even have a clue what was happening. The onslaught of physical sensations was a complete mystery to me. I was terrified and on edge pretty much constantly. But most of all, I was confused. What could possibly have caused such an attack? What had I done? What was the cause of this dizziness, weakness, and unfamiliar sense of inevitable doom? Simply put, why did I feel like absolute dog shit for seemingly no reason? That was just the first day, though. I didn't know it was going to be one of many, so I didn't panic immediately. No, I banked on the fact that I could sleep this off. I was just one good night's sleep away from normalcy. I had felt worse. Things would be fine. They tend to have a way of leveling out when you just give it time. Right? After several weeks of hoping for the miracle of a good night's sleep to fix my mental illness, I started to realize that this was not going to go away. Not anytime soon. What I didn't know was that it would consistently get worse and worse. For the first few weeks, at least, I could sleep. My body had proven to be my worst enemy, and boy, did it ramp things up in the months after. Every morning I woke up, I would feel that intense sense of discomfort again. Muscles feeling achy and stiff, the skull crushing, my skin crawling, all part of the usual shebang. But like I said, my body ramped things up. Heartburn was introduced. That wonderful feeling where your stomach launches an assault on your esophagus. You know, where your chest feels like it's on fire. Whoever came up with the name heartburn was spot on. The nausea I would usually feel in the morning had intensified to the point where I would start many mornings vomiting, quite literally leaving a bad taste in my mouth throughout the day. One of the more alarming things was the ringing in my ear that would be followed by a sudden sense of dissociation, like something was pulling me away. I couldn't sit still anymore, tapping my feet or fingers constantly as if some nebulous puppeteer was pulling my strings. Physical exertion of any type, I'm talking about walking up the stairs or just regular walking, would drain all of my energy and leave me panting. At this point, I wasn't in the best shape, but there was no way I was this out of shape. There was something else going on. Where before I was mostly confused about what was happening, confusion would be supplanted by another emotion. Despair. What do you do when you're hit with sudden, alarming physical sensations that you've never felt before? You go to a doctor. I was sure that a doctor's visit would fix everything. He would know what was happening, right? He might have, if I had been honest about what I was feeling, but I wasn't. It's not like I went in there and faked having these strange feelings, but I also didn't tell him everything. I had this mindset where I would solve every physical symptom, all 15 of them, or however many it was, one by one. The first thing I went in for, my stomach. I felt reasonably comfortable telling my doctor about stomach cramps and the heartburn I was experiencing, being certain that he would have a solution of some kind, and secretly hoping that my stomach was the root of my problems. But there was no way that I was going to let on just how much was happening to me. I wasn't going to tell him about the general sense of discomfort, twitchy muscles, inability to sit still, or pressure on my chest. At least, not yet. Remember, one by one. Step by step. There's no rush here. Just be patient and eventually I'll be fine again. Do I even have to explain why this didn't work? I went from taking gastric acid suppressants to vitamin D supplements again to fix my mental illness. In hindsight, it's staggeringly obvious why it didn't work. Fixing the symptoms of an issue is not the same as fixing the issue. I was dancing around it. This dance lasted about 8 months. For 8 months, I had this dogged determination that I just needed to find the physical source of everything that was going on. The disease I was having to deal with manifested itself in physical symptoms, so the cause had to be physical too, right? But the pain I felt wasn't just physical. There was an element that I had downplayed all this time. My mental health. The reason why I didn't consider a psychological disorder as opposed to a physical one was my fear of self-diagnosing. This mindset, while perhaps well-intentioned, blocked me from ever looking for a psychological basis for what was happening to me. Let me give you an idea of what was happening in my head at this point. Does that help? Let me try something else. Why don't I just tell you what was happening? What was it like to be in my head on an average day? First things first, I'd wake up. It wouldn't take long for me to be reminded of the sword hanging over me. My very first thoughts would fill me with a sense of dread. How am I going to get through today? What am I going to feel today? Will it be a repeat of yesterday? Or the day before? Or the one before that? Will it just be a repeat of every other day? It's gonna be worse, isn't it? Today's gonna be the day that I break down completely. It's happened before. It's only a matter of time if it will happen again. It's inevitable. Why hasn't it happened yet? I don't know what you would call this, but it's not exactly a running start to my day. All of this would happen before I'd even lifted my head from my pillow. While still lying down in relative comfort, I wondered if today would be a repeat of the days before. All I really had to do was lift up my head and I'd get my answer. There it was again. That all too familiar dizziness, jump-starting a cascade of many more all too familiar physical sensations. Within seconds, I would be on full alert again. Cortisol and adrenaline coursing through my veins as my body prepared itself for another full day of fight-or-flight mode. So the answer is yes. Yes. Today is gonna be a disaster again. Time for another episode of a show that should have been axed a long time ago. The only reason why it's still on the air is because I lack the constitution to cancel it. How am I supposed to make it through today? I could barely get through yesterday, and now I'm supposed to just hang in there and do it again? I'm exhausted. I don't remember the last time I felt happy. Frankly, I'm sick and fucking tired of this rat race. Why am I still here?
Just to suffer.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Waiting around for my inevitable doom when waiting has become so painful I want to be dead anyway. Yeah, so on second thought, let's not go through a whole day. You get the point. What I just talked about were the first minutes of my day, before I even left my room to actually go about my day. What did the rest of the day look like? Just an endless stream of catastrophizing thoughts, where any mundane obstacle would be warped into something infinitely worse, where the outcome was always one and the same. Doom. The worst possible things were going to happen to me. I didn't know how or when exactly, but it was surely going to happen soon. Constantly focusing on how the worst is going to happen to you is far from productive thinking. My mind had shifted to survival mode. I wasn't living life. I was cautiously trying to prepare for every potential pitfall it had in store for me.
There's a sorrow, but I don't know why.
I don't know how or why it happened, but one day I had a very powerful eureka moment. What if the physical symptoms are not the cause of my deteriorating mental health, but the result? With this in mind, I went to Google, a trusted friend during these times of utter confusion. What could Google tell me? Were there any psychological disorders that I could be dealing with? You know how it took me more than half a year to unsuccessfully look for a physical explanation as to what was happening to me? Would you like to know how long it took me to find a psychological explanation? 2 days! That's right, 2 fucking days! Within 2 days, I found the information I desperately needed to know about. General anxiety disorder. An indication of what could be going on in my mind and body. All I needed now was confirmation. So back to the doctor! Upon telling him that I was going to stop looking for a physical explanation and instead wanted to set my sights on a psychological one, my doctor told me I was brave. Sorry, Doc, but nope, no bravery here. Just prolonged cowardice, pushing me into a corner until I didn't have a choice left. I didn't feel brave. I felt like an absolute moron for letting things fall apart this much. But it didn't matter how I felt. I just needed to know what was happening to me. That was the one reason why I went to see a therapist. During my first session, I did my part. I told him everything that I thought he needed to hear to be able to make a diagnosis. Upon my return for the second session, I got my diagnosis. Reading it went a little like this. General anxiety disorder. Nice. I was right. Woohoo. Wait, what the what's that? What does that say? There's no way that's real. That's ridiculous. PTSD? From what? Going on exchange? Get the fuck out of here. There's a reason why I was taken aback when I read my PTSD diagnosis. PTSD is commonly associated with war veterans or victims of abuse or assault. You know, real trauma. What did I do? I went on exchange to Canada for 4 months and it sucked really hard. That's it. What wasn't more than that? And sure, it had sucked out my soul, but PTSD? PTSD? Let's save that diagnosis for the people who it applies to. You know, like me. Because it certainly did apply to me. My ignorance of the nature of PTSD and emotional trauma meant that I couldn't fathom how I could be traumatized, but I was. Out of everything I feared, there was one thing I feared above all, and it wasn't a random thing. Nothing else came close. I never, in a million millennia, wanted to feel like I did during my exchange to Canada. Oh, but Kevin, what happened there? I hear you asking. Well, let me answer. There's no goddamn way in hell that I'm gonna tell you or anyone else, let alone the entire planet. The only place where you can hear that story is in my
Casket.
Oh, fuck. What is this?
It seems I've been called again.
Huh? What?
Go on, do the song and dance.
What are you talking about? Who are you?
Pivot, pirouette, do the hip twist. Dance, you little heart-out monkey.
What's happening?
Kick turn, heel turn. Keep it up. Dance for me.
What do you mean?
Still pretending, huh? It's just adorable the way you contort every muscle in your brain to ignore the obvious.
If it's so obvious, just tell me what it is. Honestly, dude, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, but you do. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
You're gonna drive me insane. Can you just shut up and leave? I'm trying to tell a story here.
Oh, there's a story for you to tell, all right.
Then tell me what it is. What do I have to talk about?
Like I said, you know.
Where was I? Right. Diagnosis. PTSD and general anxiety disorder. After 8 months of confusion and despair, I was finally alleviated from one of them. My confusion was over. I finally knew why my body had become such a burden, why it had constantly attacked me out of the blue. There was a reason. It was anxiety. The concept of anxiety was so foreign to me that I could not imagine it manifesting itself like this. That it could be such a physical phenomenon, I was beyond puzzled. Until I got an explanation of what had happened. For months, I had been terrified of anxiety. As a result, I had developed a deep-rooted fear of the physical symptoms of anxiety. Every time my heart rate went up, or I felt a pit in my stomach, or nausea, or any other symptom I've mentioned before, it would start a pattern, where one physical symptom triggered another, occasionally even culminating in panic attacks. In the meantime, my brain was frantically looking for an explanation for these physical sensations, but it did not go about doing so in a reasonable way. Given my tendency to catastrophize, the only explanations that I believed to be true were the worst-case scenarios. This combination of a deep-rooted fear of anxiety and a tendency to catastrophize meant that I became scared of just about anything. When anything can produce anxiety, whether it's an internal sensation or thought or an external event, and you are terrified of anxiety, anything can terrify you. Hence, general anxiety disorder. I guess you could call me a jack of all fears. I don't specialize, baby. I'm scared of everything, a genetic coward. But at least I got an explanation. Something to hold on to, something to make sense of these past 8 months, something that would help me kickstart my recovery. My diagnosis was essential to it. The first step in solving a problem is obviously to identify the problem. While my diagnosis was essential to my recovery, it wasn't a cure. When you break a bone, the doctor might be able to tell you in what places you broke it, but you still have a broken bone. Recovery can start, but pain is inevitable. I could now explain to myself how I felt, but I still had no idea how to handle any of it. Despair didn't stop after my diagnosis. It got worse. I realized the extent to which I was in trouble. I was fucked completely. Anxiety and stress would haunt me for the rest of my life. I wasn't dealing with something that had a cure. How I'd felt in the past 8 months was just a preview of what the rest of my life would be like. All the hope I held out for a semblance of my old life disappeared right then and there. It was over. This was my new reality. One I had to navigate knowing that every single day would be filled with intense fear and a mountain load of stress. This would be a challenge, and I felt anything but up to the task. Until I remembered something. An experience that I had been through that had fundamentally changed my perception of challenges. What was that experience? Dark Souls. Hey, did you know that Dark Souls is a difficult game? Hot take, right? Hasn't been said before? Really fresh opinion. I can't wait to talk all about how difficult Dark Souls is, because I love regurgitating the same tired take that everyone who talks about this game feels the need to share. Sarcasm aside, that is the gist of this part of the story. I'm just going to come out of the gate and say it so that you don't have any misconceptions about where this is going. It's an easy concept to grasp that shouldn't require a long-winded explanation, but it is not how Dark Souls helped me cope with anxiety. That's a little more complicated, but we'll get to that in a bit. First, how did Dark Souls change my perception of challenges? Before I ever laid my hands on Dark Souls, my experience with difficult video games amounted to just about nothing. The hardest thing I'd ever done in gaming at that point was probably beating one of the Call of Duty campaigns on Veteran. Yeah, I'm not joking. I didn't like difficult games. In fact, I fucking hated them. I played games to relax, and in order to relax, things had to go my way. It's one of the reasons why I gravitate more towards single-player games, more predictable resistance, so a higher likelihood of things going my way. I've also always had anger issues, so I thought it would be a better idea to steer clear from really difficult games, lest my parents would want to strangle me for the constant screaming. Like I said, I had anger issues. Just to be clear, and to redeem kid me a little bit, I never directed my anger towards other people. I tended to take it out on objects, scream at the top of my lungs, or just start growling like an actual animal. It would get weird, but that's where I found my catharsis. Was it healthy? Probably not, but at least I wasn't antagonistic towards other people. They were safe for me. Although I do suspect my neighbors weren't very fond of me. Then I bought Dark Souls. I think you can imagine where this is going. Kid with anger issues plus notoriously difficult game equals a screaming marathon the likes of which you've never heard. I can't think of a single game that frustrated me more than Dark Souls did. It was almost like the game was designed to make your blood boil. Enraged became my standard mode of being while playing. Nothing I did worked out for me. Every single time I would run into a new area, I'd get my ass kicked. Hard. My usual method of brute forcing it through a fight and just waiting to get lucky enough to make it through just didn't work for Dark Souls. I kept dying over and over and over and over ad nauseum. I hated it. Absolutely despised it. Constantly blaming the game for my own failures and just being a dick about it. What I could do now is sit here and pretend to get really angry and childish to demonstrate what I was like while playing Dark Souls, but no. No, that comes later. For now, I have something much better, or, well, worse. I can show you real reactions from a real person being thrashed by a video game. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Darkside Phil. The star of a show called This Is How You Don't Play Dark Souls. As the name suggests, Phil here is the poster boy for the wrong approach to playing Dark Souls.
I can't do anything. Yo, this is stupid. I'm not rolling. I'm trying to run. Yo, you're not even near me, and you fucking hit me. Oh my god. Well, I'm not even hitting him. I throw firebombs, nothing. None of them do anything to him. And, yeah. And he does 50% damage or more per hit. Excellent. It's just so good. Yo, it won't go off my screen now. What the fuck? Oh, come on! That was complete nonsense! I couldn't do anything because the fucking icon for the axe was stuck on my screen, and then when I try to heal, he just non-stop breathes fire and hits me. What the fuck? That was stupid.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry I put you through that, but I had to make a point, and actually, I think I found the one thing that's more frustrating than playing Dark Souls. It's watching Phil play it! You know what? I'm not sorry. You only had to watch a couple of minutes. I had to edit this video. I needed to wait through an hour and a half of this content to find the right clips, goddammit. Fuck all of you for making me do that. Oh no, not again.
Holy shit. You're serious, aren't you?
Serious about what?
As long as you're not to blame, everything is fine. You can continue this fucking facade of being a victim.
What facade are you talking about?
Oh, woe is me, Mr. Struggle. Please pity me, for my life has been so hard. All I did was run myself into the ground, knowing full well what the consequences would be. But please, it wasn't my fault.
Tell me then, how exactly was all of it, whatever it even is, my fault, you complete asshole?
Oh, no. I won't tell you. You're gonna tell me in detail.
Oh, for the love of... How am I supposed to tell you?
Because you know what you did.
So, what I could do now that that's done, whatever that was, is sit here and dissect all of Phil's mistakes as he stumbles his way through Lordran, just making an ass of himself. But I made a lot of the same mistakes, and I wasn't very gracious about it either. And you know what? This may sound a little sarcastic, but it's not. We should be grateful to have a man like Phil who can give us just a simple display of what so many of us were like when we first played Dark Souls. I guess you could say the only mistake Phil made was recording himself. Look, Like I said before, I didn't have much experience playing difficult games, so my first playthrough of Dark Souls was a bona fide punch in the face. While I expected a simple sword and board style action RPG, what I got was a true challenge, one that I refused to let myself give up on. I wasn't gonna let a game beat me, but I also wasn't gonna cheat. Instead of looking at walkthroughs and strategy guides, I wanted to do this by myself. I wasn't going to summon other players or do anything of the sort to make this easier. This was my challenge and mine alone. So I was going to face it alone. Dozens of hours later, I beat the game. The satisfaction I felt at the end made all my frustration seem worth it. It was my choice to keep at it, to not give up in the face of incessant mistakes and profound confusion about what I needed to do or where I needed to go. I may have despised the game for a large portion of my first playthrough, but by keeping my eyes on the prize, I got my reward. Intense frustration gave way to intense satisfaction. This was the hardest thing I'd ever done in terms of playing video games. Little did I know that my first playthrough would be one of many, around 8 to be precise. Now, why did I continue playing a game that had frustrated me so much? Because challenging myself became an obsession. For months, I didn't want to play anything else. I wanted to get my ass kicked so that I could capture the magic of that first playthrough, that sense of achievement that no other game had ever given me. By the end of my first playthrough, I had developed something that would prove to be essential, not just in dealing with frustration, but other emotions as well. It was through playing Dark Souls that I developed the mindset I required to cope with my mental illness. I'll tell you all about it after I discuss something that I am hesitant to discuss. I'm going to talk about drugs. Yes, that's right. Drugs.
I smoked this thing one night out as he bed. He told me it was kind of like a funky cigarette. And I can still remember my first draw and all those funny things I saw.
The devil's lettuce. Reefer. Cannabis, marijuana, weed. Call it what you want. There's a few names for it. Oh my god!
That's a lot of names.
Well, whatever you want to call it, weed is kind of wonderful. As my fellow stoners will attest to a right high five. Please tell me you didn't high five there. That would be very embarrassing. For real though, I do love weed. While I'm not exactly fond of weed culture, the drug itself has been a boon to me. For so many reasons. Reasons that I will now get into. I was 18 when I smoked my first spliff. It was bad. It was very bad even. I was paralyzed and someone pushed his bare ass right into my face as I laid there. I'm not providing context for that story. It just happened, accepted. Needless to say, it was not the experience I expected. So, being a little let down, I figured, let's do that again. A few weeks later, I tried a second time. It was bad. Just as bad as the first, but at least I didn't have someone else's ass in my face this time. That was a marked improvement. So, again, being a little let down, I figured, let's do that again. Third time's the charm, right? Well, it had all the charm I'd heard so much about. I was with my 2 best friends, and we had an absolute blast. Laughing like maniacs, giving our taste buds an experience they had never had before, making the most insightful observations, just being extraordinary philosophers, possessing knowledge that most had not yet gleamed, but we had, because we were smart. Very smart. So much smarter than all those schmucks who hadn't smoked. Our collective IQ was easily over 600. We were going to record these conversations we were having while smoking because this information just could not be lost on the masses. By God, am I glad we didn't actually record any of it. That was the first time. After a few months of exclusively smoking with my friends, I decided to try something new. I was going to smoke by myself. And with that, I hit the jackpot! Perhaps the best idea I've ever had. Turned out that smoking weed by yourself is even better than with friends. Here's what I would usually do. I would put on my headphones with some music, hop on my bicycle, smoke a spliff, and then ride around for as long as my ass allowed.
Hold up. Let me get this straight. You're a Dutch guy who likes to ride his bicycle around while smoking weed? Are you aware that you are a walking stereotype?
Well, I'm the one who wrote the script, so obviously I am.
Don't you get meta with me, you little dick.
So, man, you should see what's about to come up next. It's gonna be crazy. There's this song that basically changed...
Stop that! Don't read ahead, you're ruining the experience for everyone.
Oh, yeah. I'm ruining their experience. It's not like you're the one who's constantly interrupting the flow of the video.
Hey, I serve a purpose, asshole.
Could you serve it elsewhere then?
No. You know I can't. You're the one who wrote the script, right?
Ugh. That's cute.
Love you too. Mwah.
Anyway, back to it. Why do I like smoking so much, you asked? Oh, you didn't? Don't care. Needed a segue. The main reason is quite simple. But what is anything but simple is finding a way to phrase it without coming across as a pretentious douchebag. I like to think. It's my favorite pastime. Frankly, there are very few things I like more than having hours of uninterrupted time to think. I think self-reflection is one of the most engaging and rewarding experiences you can have. I'm sure I'm not the only one when I say that I find weed to be very conducive to self-reflection. The headspace I would inhabit while smoking was one of introspection. I wanted to ask myself questions and to try and come up with answers. If something had happened recently that had an impact, I would ask myself whatever relevant question came to mind. Any problems that I ran into, I would mull over while smoking. I wasn't running from them by smoking. I was able to face them head on, being clear-minded enough to break them down and analyze them, finding solutions for them. I strongly felt that weed was helping me in getting to know myself, for lack of a better phrase. After a few months of occasionally smoking by myself, smoking weed became a habit. A ritual, even. Every day I would do the same thing. I'd eat dinner, and after dinner, I'd hop on my bicycle to get my fix. It felt fantastic. Every time. I'd feel fulfilled, entertained, more in touch with myself. Weed felt a bit like finding a cheat code for life. A guaranteed way of enjoying myself to the fullest. Weed became my new best friend. A part of my identity that nobody could take away from me. I didn't care what others thought. I smoked responsibly. It enriched my life in a way that almost felt too good to be true. Almost. But I didn't care. Until that fateful day on March 18th, 2017, when everything changed. Shit. You gotta be fucking kidding me.
You're doing it again.
What am I doing? What is it?
Just stop pretending already. You can't play dumb with me.
I hate you so much. I'm sick and tired of your fucking act. All you do is give me cryptic hints. If you want me to do something, fucking speak up. Stop this act and just tell me. I'll do anything, please.
You think anyone's buying this? Maybe you're not even playing dumb. Maybe you really are just this fucking stupid.
Fine, I am this stupid. Just tell me what to do.
I am not gonna repeat myself.
Fuck! March 18th, 2017. What I thought would be a normal Saturday night turned out to be my worst nightmare. The night I had my first ever panic attack. You can imagine the roller coaster that goes on in someone's head when they light a spliff expecting that familiar sense of calm, only to be met by the exact opposite of that feeling. March 18th, 2017 was the day my best friend became my worst enemy. Me being a very stubborn person, to the point of really just being obtuse, it wasn't the day I stopped smoking though. No. I hung in there, desperately clinging to the idea that weed would go back to normal, that I could just enjoy it again without my body launching an all-out assault. Maybe this was a temporary thing, a reaction my body was having for reasons that would eventually become clear and would then miraculously subside. After several weeks of expecting calm and getting the opposite, it became clear that this was not gonna change. This was just what weed was like for me now, providing a guaranteed freakout with the occasional panic attack. But me being a very obtuse person, what I was definitely not going to do was stop smoking. I'm a creature of habit. I don't just like having a routine, I need it. It's impossible for me to go without one. With weed having become a ritual of sorts, the desire to smoke in the evening was deeply ingrained by this point. It was the one thing I refused to budge on. My need for a familiar routine simply outweighed my need to feel good. I didn't enjoy smoking anymore, but on some level, I still enjoyed being high. I still preferred to start my evenings with a bike ride. It helped me clear my head a little bit. I say a little bit because the part of my head that always wondered when the next panic attack would come on wasn't going to clear up anytime soon. The physical sensations would eventually wear off, with my body calming down significantly when I was done smoking. Weed may have become my worst enemy, but I wasn't ready to let go of this relationship yet. I would find a way to become friends again, to repair this broken union. Against all odds, and after more than a year of painstaking work, I did repair the relationship. I learned to love weed again. The key to doing so? Dark Souls. Look, I know I've got some explaining to do, alright? Why, in God's name, did I continue to do something that I dreaded doing every time? I did so precisely because it produced a level of anxiety unlike any I would experience if I wasn't smoking. I also noticed striking similarities between my response to anxiety while smoking and my response to frustration while playing Dark Souls. So, I saw an opportunity. What if I could learn how to deal with anxiety by smoking weed the same way I learned how to deal with frustration by playing Dark Souls? Without further ado, let's move on to the meat of the video. The reason you came here. It's been about... for real? I think you have the context required to answer the question if Dark Souls can really teach you how to cope with anxiety. I believe it can. Obviously. Also, if you did skip to this point in the video, hi! Good luck following the rest of the video. Don't forget, I did warn you about potential regret. See this triangle? I'm going to be referring to this triangle quite a bit throughout this part of the video, so I'll begin by explaining it. It's not very difficult to understand, I think. It might even be really obvious. Sure wasn't to me, but hey, what do I know? Thoughts, emotions, and behavior. As you can see by the arrows, these three influence one another. Your thoughts influence your emotions influence your thoughts, your behavior influences your thoughts influence your behavior. Got it? Good. Next, I'm going to lay out 3 scenarios wherein I noticed similarities between coping with the intense frustration playing Dark Souls caused and the much more intense anxiety smoking weed caused. Picture this. Oh, wait. You don't have to. This is a visual medium, I'll just do it for you. You're playing Dark Souls for the first time and come upon a new area. You're confused about where you need to go and anxious about what's ahead of you. Resting at the bonfire, you stock up on Estus and spend your souls, preparing yourself for a trek to the next bonfire. This new area is filled with enemies you've never had to fight before. Being stocked up on Estus, you feel confident about taking on whatever's lying in wait. Your first encounter does not go well. You immediately get hit by some magic projectile, and then a nearly invisible enemy rolls up to you and slices at you. You panic roll your way out of danger and try to get yourself into a position to fight, but it's pointless. You get hit by another magic projectile, and the transparent man seizes the opportunity to finish you off. Death. That is not how it was supposed to go. What? That was ridiculous! How was I supposed to know any of that was coming? Is this how the game is supposed to be? You walk around just waiting to get hit by some cheap, impossible to predict bullshit? And what the fuck is up with that invisible dude? That's a ridiculous amount of damage. Whatever. You go on. You get back in there and try again. To give yourself more of a fighting chance, you lure out just one of the enemies. In the short time that you've been playing the game, you've noticed that fighting your enemies one at a time is usually the best way to go. But your second encounter doesn't go well either. This is an enemy you know nothing about. You don't know when to put up your shield and when to mount your own attack. You hack away at him, but each time you do, he responds in kind, and his attacks hit much harder than yours. Within seconds of starting the fight, your opponent is the one to end it. Death. Fucking asshole! This guy is clearly way too fast. How am I supposed to beat him if I don't have the godlike reflexes required? God, fucking game. You can feel the frustration flowing through your body. You're not quite there yet. You're starting to feel like yelling at your screen. Whatever. You go on. You get back in there and try again. Your approach is very similar to the last fight, except this time you decide to be more aggressive. Bold choice. The aggressive approach is just not very effective. You get a few hits in and manage to work him down to almost half of his health. But again, your opponent is winning each trade. Within 2 hits, you only have a sliver of health left. You quickly heal and go back to hacking away at him, but this time the transparent man has had enough of your shit. One more mistimed attack on your end leaves an opening for him to finish fight number 3. Death. God! Damn it! This is the worst! I'm gonna have to do it again? Wasting my time on fighting this fucking asshole again! Christ! Your frustration is getting worse. You're inching ever closer to that imminent freakout. Something's gotta give. It's either you or the game. Who'll win? Having learned nothing from your previous mistakes, fight number 4 is almost exactly the same as the last fights. You continue with your aggressive approach, recklessly hacking away at your opponent while your opponent swiftly drains your health. You don't pay attention to any of his attacks and instead just seem to be hoping to get lucky. You repeatedly fail to heal yourself without losing health in the process, making healing pretty much pointless. Within a short time, you're right back at where you started. Death. Uh-oh. You tilt your head back as rage consumes you. Are you fucking kidding me? This game is terrible! Every time I die, I have to face the same bullshit over and over again? It's so unbelievably tedious. How can people like this? What ridiculous sadist would enjoy this fucking torturous experience? How does this game advance? It's not even that difficult. It's just memorizing the timing of attacks. That's it. So I'm supposed to just slam my head into a wall until I've learned how to memorize each enemy? I could just play a game of memory then, couldn't I? God, I fucking hate this. Something's gotta give. It's either you or the game. Who'll win? The game did. You lost. Now, what went wrong here exactly? How did you lose? It's important to note that loss did not occur when you died. It happened when you freaked out. When you decided to give in to frustration and looked for easy catharsis. And did you get it? Is the frustration gone? You should have just stayed quiet, because you said some stupid things, alright? Take that cheap, impossible to predict bullshit that got you killed the first time. You entered a new area filled with new enemies. And what? Did you think you could just take a leisurely stroll through the park? What game have you been playing? This is Dark Souls, you dumbass. Enemies catch you off guard. Encounters are designed to test you in a variety of ways, including surprise attacks. Maybe you should pay attention. Just a thought. Or what about that asshole who was clearly way too fast? You know, the one that requires godlike reflexes. What a bunch of nonsense, blaming the game like a petulant child. This was your first real fight with an enemy that caught you off guard before, yet you went into the fight thinking you're hot shit and you could just brute force your way through it. You only have yourself to blame for your decidedly lackluster performance. Maybe don't expect things to go your way the first time. Just a thought. As for your third fight, while facing an enemy you haven't even gotten close to beating, your strategy, because you clearly put zero thought into it, was to be more aggressive. Are you a smart cookie? Let's just wail on this guy who can do half your health worth of damage in one hit. Let's continue to trade with an enemy that wins each time you do, because that's a strategy that will get you what you want, right? The enemies in Dark Souls are known to just roll over and die, right? If you don't want to waste your time fighting the same enemy, maybe hang back a bit more and be a little more cautious. Just a thought. Now, I want you to think about what you said. Only a
ridiculous sadist can enjoy this torturous experience,
and
the game is not even that difficult and all you do is memorize enemy attacks?
it seems a little dismissive of the efforts of the developers. Maybe you're missing something. Maybe it was just your frustration talking. Remember the triangle? Emotions influence your thoughts and behavior. Your rage let you to think some very embarrassing things that you actually yelled out loud. Be mindful of that next time, maybe. Just a thought.
Holy shit, and you were calling me an asshole.
So, what about weed? How could smoking weed possibly be like playing Dark Souls? Well, picture this. And this time you're actually going to have to picture it in your head because I can't show you any footage, I'm afraid. I wouldn't even know how. Anyway, here's some more Dark Souls gameplay, I guess. Picture this. You step on your bicycle to smoke some weed. On your way to a more secluded area in the countryside, you start to feel your jaw tense up. It's kind of annoying. You clench your teeth to relieve some of the tension, but it doesn't take long for it to come back with twice the intensity. A cycle of clenching and unclenching has started, and the vice-like grip on your jaw is getting tighter and tighter. Doesn't look like it's going to let go anytime soon. Anxiety starts to build. Getting closer to where you always light up your spliff, you notice the muscles in your neck, shoulders, and arms stiffen. Weird pains shoot through your joints. What's happening? You wiggle your toes and fingers to try to relieve the tension, but it's no use, of course. The tension doesn't fade. It gets worse. A growing sense of discomfort starts to take hold of you. Anxiety rises. By the time you light your spliff, you begin to feel a strange dizziness. Your legs feel weak. You're beginning to feel more and more unstable.
No, not again. Please.
After taking your first hit, your heart starts to thump. A searing pain awakens like the crashing of 1,000 waves comes slamming down on your chest. The pressure feels out of this world. It's gonna happen again. There's no avoiding it anymore. This is it. It's gonna be a fucking bloodbath. You feel a heightened sense of awareness. You're even more in tune with how your body feels than you normally are. Your focus is solely on the threat of what's going on in your body. Hypervigilance. Everything's fine for now. Everything is fine as long as it doesn't happen. You'll be safe as long as you don't have trouble breathing. When you notice your breathing change, you become shrouded in terror. It's gonna be a fucking bloodbath. Picture a heart attack. Because it's pretty much like that. There's a reason why people end up going to emergency rooms for panic attacks. They're vicious. The time in between the onset of symptoms and when God himself stomps on your entire being is a few minutes. There's a moment where the beginnings of a panic attack end and you enter stage 2. Now in stage 2, something indescribable happens. You essentially have a few minutes to get ready for a fear beyond comprehension. You won't be able to think straight. You won't be able to know you're not thinking straight. You're going to be trapped in a body that is trying with all its might to crush out its soul. Panic attacks are by far the worst sensations I've ever experienced. Describing what it feels like doesn't do it justice, though. I could show you a visual, maybe, but just need to figure out the specifics. Got it.
One. Two.
Does that help? Sure hope it does. It's the best I could do. What went wrong here exactly? You lost, but how did you lose? Can you even consider this a loss? But before I move on, I have to apologize for my tone a little while back. I shouldn't have been so hard on you while pointing out your mistakes earlier. It was incredibly petty and patronizing. But I'm just talking to myself, really. It's a habit, and it's completely okay to talk to yourself like that, right? Yeah, maybe not. So, let's try a milder tone for this part. How did you lose? While it may not feel like it, in fact, it definitely doesn't, a panic attack can be your own fault. It's your fear of having one that sets them in motion in the first place. Now, you didn't know that, because how could you know that? But it is this knowledge that should be on the forefront of your mind so that next time you're ready to stop panic from setting in. Now let's take a closer look at how exactly you lost this particular fight against your body. Anxiety is a sneaky son of a bitch. It creeps up on you, and before you know it, you find yourself on the brink of a freakout. It's essential that you recognize it early on so that it doesn't hijack your body and mind entirely. You want to get ahead of it. But this means acting against your instincts. To fight against these instincts, your only hope is your ability to reason, to know what's happening to you, and for that, you need to remember the triangle. When you noticed your jaw tense up, your first instinct was to clench your teeth. It relieves tension in the short run. For a few seconds, you don't feel any tension you're not supposed to, but unclench, and the tension comes back in full force. Your emotions are influencing your behavior, and your behavior is influencing your emotions in turn. Each time you clench and unclench your teeth, you are letting your emotions influence your behavior. Simply put, clenching and unclenching your teeth makes your anxiety worsen. A vicious feedback loop is making you lose control over your body. But that's just the beginning. The tension spreads from your jaw to your neck, arms, and shoulders.
What's happening?
What is happening? Anxiety is rising. Nothing more, nothing less. But your ignorance of this fact is what allows that sense of discomfort to take hold of you completely. Again, the triangle. Your emotions are influencing your thoughts. You're already anxious. Have been for a few minutes now. Feeling anxiety building up, you start to think you're going down a very familiar route. One where you end up having to face a level of anxiety your body can't handle. You know what it will feel like. You know what you'll have to face. And you know that you're not ready for it.
No, not again. Please.
That's all you can wish for. But this is still just the beginning. Your thoughts are influencing your emotions, and vice versa. A second, more potent feedback loop is making you lose control even more. Anxiety is getting worse. Your body is letting you know by telling you in no uncertain terms. Dizziness, weakness, instability, and chest pains. 4 more symptoms to add to the list. Are you keeping score? As the score increases, so does your anxiety. As anxiety increases, your thoughts become more and more desperate. Your judgment is compromised. It becomes more and more difficult not to focus on your body. Hypervigilance makes that impossible. Surely, there's no way back now. Back to safety, back to feeling fine. This is it. You're going to have to face it again. It's unavoidable. As a last-ditch effort, you pin your hope on the absence of one symptom. You can still breathe normally, but once that goes out the window, out goes your sanity. There's no use trying anything beyond this point. You lose your ability to control your thoughts. Your emotions are in full control. You've been hijacked. You've lost. You never stood a chance.
Did you?
No, this has to stop.
Did you stand a chance?
I won't let you.
Did you really think you stood a chance? Oh, poor thing. Don't worry.
I can't let you do this anymore.
Your day is coming.
Let's take a look at another scenario. Don't picture this, just watch. There he is. There's a beautiful self. You've arrived at Anorlando. Having made your way through about half of the game, you've picked up on the fact that Dark Souls is not quite like other games you've played. It doesn't hold back in its difficulty. It's relentlessly unforgiving. With this information in mind, you're not as quick to freak out when you die. Dying is just a natural part of playing Dark Souls. Fighting your way through Anorlando turns out to be even more difficult than you could have ever expected. There's this asshole waiting to shoot you off the platform. There's these assholes blocking your way through. Having to scurry along a narrow platform at the very top of a church is making you shit bricks. The maze-like hallways are confusing as all hell. Where am I? What do I do? Where do I go? Do I go up or down the stairs? I've been here before! I know I've been here before, son of a bitch! You feel frustration rising again. After what feels like half a century, you finally arrive at the main hall, where it resides. The mark of danger! The wall of fog keeping the real demons at bay! Before you face them, you stock up on Estus and spend your souls. Preparation is key, after all. Now, on to the real deal. You sonic your way past the enemies and enter the fog wall. You're ready. Okay, let's get it on you, dicks. Whoa! Oh, did not see that one coming. Jeez, calm down, dude. Okay, God, calm down. Oh, shit. Death. That was fast. You're not gonna lie. You're definitely intimidated, but there's not a chance you'll give up. It's only a matter of time. Attempt number 2. Hi, enemies. Bye, enemies. You've got business to attend to. All right, let's be a bit more careful this time. I don't want to be caught off guard. Damn it. Again? Oh well, I'm sure it won't be the last time. For now, let's just make sure I don't get hit. Wait for a clear opening, and then strike! I missed. No, don't! Death. This is starting to get on your nerves a bit. Attempt number 3. Yes, I get it. You all want a piece of me, but I have better things to do than to deal with the likes of you. Right. So, what now? How the hell am I going to beat these two? Just stick to the main rule, I guess. Don't get hit. You can't die if they don't hit you, right? Okay, so, this isn't helping. God, I feel like I've been running around for hours. Are these two ever gonna give me an opening? Fuck it. Let's just make one. Well, that didn't help either. How the Stop it! God, come on! Fuck this! Do you feel it? It's becoming more and more noticeable, right? It's no longer just creeping around, it's starting to make noise. That's right, frustration's a dog now. I don't know. Attempt number 4. Death. Attempt number 5. Death. Number 6. Death. Number 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. A valiant effort. You got close. Well, you didn't really. Your loss was decisive, but it sure took you a lot longer to reach the point of no return, where frustration takes over and you become someone else entirely. You're getting the hang of this. So let's give you some feedback the way people like to receive feedback. You deserve a sandwich. First of all, good job realizing that death is a natural part of Dark Souls. The only way to make it through the game is to stumble and fall, to be willing to make mistakes without blaming the game. Death is nothing but a learning experience. Each time you fight an enemy and lose, you gain valuable experience for the next time you're up against it. You're not as likely to make the same mistake twice when you know the punishment that awaits you. All that really matters is that you keep going each time you do fail, of course. You did, and eventually you reached them. Ornstein and Smough, Ornstein and Smaug,
Just call them ONS.
But there's this character in the DLC that's called Hawkeye Goff. Just listen to how he says his own name.
Now, watch and see how Goth hunts dragons.
Wouldn't it stand to reason that it's Ornstein and Smough?
Just call them ONS.
Fine. ONS.
The playthrough enders. No, really. You should take a look at all the salty complaining about these two. Many a run has ended facing them. This comes down to the paltry damage you do at this point in the game, how very few openings there are to get a hit in on either of them, how the camera can become an enemy in itself. ONS are gatekeepers. It's a matter of grit if they will let you through. You need to stick to the strict rules that Dark Souls imposes on you. One of these rules is that you need to rely on your patience. Greed, or really impatience, is what compelled you to try and get a hit in when you knew you couldn't. The result was righteous punishment. By the time you get to ONS in the game, you've beaten several bosses already. You know boss battles run longer than regular fights. Duh. They tend to feel more high stakes than when you fight some regular enemy. This puts you on edge. It's downright stressful. Question is, can you take that stress? Well, you've already proven that you can. Again, you've beaten bosses before. But ONS are a little different. They're not so much about being able to handle the stress, and more so about how long you can handle it. ONS is an endurance fight. You know most of the simple rules of Dark Souls, so just stick to them. But how long can you? How long can you keep fighting your own impatience? Triangle time! Emotions influence behavior. The longer the fight lasts, the more likely you are to get frustrated with just how long it's taking. This frustration compromises your judgment. You need to feel like there's something you can do to move the fight along, so you strike. But not only doesn't it get you anywhere, you die. Congratulations, you just spent minutes running around avoiding damage only to basically inflict it on yourself because of your frustration. You ran in there to attack them when you shouldn't have. This was entirely your fault. Easy to avoid, but completely understandable given that your frustration was starting to take over. You were laying down the foundation for your next freakout. Now, here's something you might expect me to beat you up over. You turned the game off. That was a solid idea. You're human. Humans have limits. There's only so much relentless punishment a person can handle. So sometimes the best thing you can do is to just take a break. By taking a break, you essentially reset your brain. You'll notice that when you get back in there after some time, you've calmed down significantly, but more importantly, your expectations will also be influenced by how difficult the fight was the last time. So when you do get back in there, you're geared up for a long, difficult fight. You're expecting the worst. Death becomes a given at that point. Of course you'll die to ONS. It's a hard fight. All you have to do is endure. Huh? What is that? Ah, right. That's you. On your bicycle. Getting ready to smoke some weed again, you filthy, wonderful human being. Are you ready? Ready for round 50 of how is my body gonna make me lose my mind today? You are! Okay, well that's unexpected. I guess we'll have to see how things work out this time. You can stop ringing the bell now. Your first rodeo, this is not, so you feel somewhat prepared for what's ahead of you. Looking back on how your day was, you feel confident. Yeah, you know what? Anxiety wasn't so bad today. It was remarkably calm even. Holy fuck. What if smoking this time won't be so bad? What if it's just gonna be like the old days? Just a wonderfully calm bike ride. No heart palpitations, no stomach aches, no chest pains, just no noticeable distress of any kind. Anxiety stays away, and I get a gentle start to my evening. What if, right? What if things could just be normal? Wouldn't that be amazing? Yeah, sure, it would be. It's also not happening. And you know it isn't. Because this is not your first time out here in the countryside. At this point, you are well aware that smoking weed means anxiety. There's no way around it. Besides, it has already begun to emerge, and you can feel it. You admit, you feel like a bit of a fool for even considering the idea that you wouldn't feel it this time. You know better after all. You light up. On cue, the general sense of discomfort replaces the relative calm you were feeling before. It doesn't faze you, because this is to be expected. After about 5 minutes, your breathing starts to change. You try to breathe in and out, but the air seems to be getting caught. This is still to be expected, though it's anything but comfortable. This is bad. Well, is it worse than before, though? I mean, am I feeling anything I haven't felt before? I don't think so. Another 5 minutes pass and your chest begins to feel constricted. Disorientation kicks in. Hot flashes make you feel like you're on fire. This is bad. This is very bad. Christ. Please tell me it's not going to be worse than this. The tension in your muscles is dialed up to 11. You feel a headache coming on. Heart palpitations become more and more frequent. Fuck me with a rake. Your bowels are wreaking havoc on you. The pit in your stomach grows to the size of a basketball, and then something strange happens. It seems like a minor thing, but your fingers start to tingle. What the fuck is that? Holy shit. I'm gonna have a stroke. What? No way! I'm not having a stroke. That's ridiculous. Come on, just keep it together. You're not having a stroke. You're not having a stroke. Or a panic attack. But what if you are gonna pass out? What am I doing out here? I'm riding a bicycle. If I pass out, I'm screwed. What if someone runs me over? What if I land in a ditch and drown? Why am I still out here? Why do I still do this? Have I gone insane? You're trying desperately to keep your shit together, but it seems to have a life of its own. The more you try, the more scattered it gets, strewn about all over the place. You don't even know where half of it is at this point. Anxiety is in control, and your shit is scrambled. It stays like that for the rest of the evening. You can't concentrate on anything else. All you feel is misery and fear. All you can think about is the 1,000,001 ways in which life is going to keep you feeling miserable in the future. It's safe to say that your evening did not turn out the way you wanted it to. You're exhausted. How am I supposed to keep this up? You know what? Fuck it. I'm not. I'm going to sleep. It's close enough to death as it is. I think congratulations are in order. You didn't panic. That's great. Don't you feel great? Don't you feel all warm and fuzzy inside? Okay, that might be on account of the hot flashes and weird tingling sensations, but you didn't panic. Isn't that what you wanted? Sure, by the end of the day, you didn't feel you were in control. Like, at all. It was mostly stressful and exhausting, but you didn't panic. Good job. Amazing. That's off to you, son. We're all very impressed. What a performance. You deserve an award. Okay, all jokes aside, not panicking is an important step, but you still have a long way to go. So let's talk about what you did well and what you did less well. First off, managing your expectations. This is where you both did and didn't do very well. You played yourself by holding on to the fantasy that there is a way to smoke without feeling anxiety. False hope is poison. It represents a failure to accept the nature of your new reality, one wherein anxiety is a constant. Just remember what your brain does. It feeds you the emotion, which in turn feeds you anxious thoughts. You know this. This wasn't your first rodeo, or your second, or even your 10th. Have you ever gone bull riding? Look at this shit. How are you ever not going to be anxious while you're on top of one of these monsters? It's an uncontrollable beast, doing everything in its power to throw you off. Why on earth would you even get on one willingly? Sorry, it seems I got a little lost on my own metaphor. Weed. I was talking about weed. Fortunately, you were able to snap yourself back to reality. The first signs of anxiety coming on didn't even faze you. You stayed calm while you couldn't breathe normally. Hats off, because that's exactly what caused you to panic last time. The contrast between your first time smoking weed and now is already remarkable. You're beginning to accept your new reality. Beginning to because you're not there yet. Ask yourself, why did the tingling in your fingers make you lose control that much? You felt it before, many times even. In fact, none of the symptoms you felt were new. To answer the question, you probably didn't ask yourself because you're not playing along like a good boy. The reason why you freaked out was that the order of the symptoms doesn't matter. It's the buildup that does you in. You know the rule. Smoking weed causes intense anxiety. This intense anxiety causes physical symptoms. Now, anxiety in itself is harmless, but left unchecked, it takes over. Triangle time, say it with me again, everyone. Your emotions influence your thoughts. Emotions and thoughts. The two are inextricably linked. Each physical symptom represents your emotion trying to gain control. Each thought feeds that emotion. Just like before, your thoughts become more desperate as anxiety builds up, and your anxiety worsens as a result. The vicious feedback loop I mentioned before rears its head again. You may not panic fully, meaning you never reach the dreaded stage 2, but desperation still builds. The accumulation of symptoms is making you feel much more anxious with each symptom that gets added to the list. Your tingling fingers suddenly become something to be terrified of. You could handle everything else up to that point. But how long can you really last against this fucking behemoth that is anxiety? Deep down, you still feel like you're gonna lose control. It may not be a panic attack this time. But what if you pass out? Again, ask yourself, why would you pass out? You haven't passed out before. It's completely irrational to think that you will, but anxiety is in control, and it's anything but rational. Anxiety is instinctive. It makes it very difficult for you to rely on your ability to reason, and that was your only hope. By the end, you felt like shit. So you took drastic measures. You went to sleep. Again, good idea. Resetting your brain for the next day because tomorrow's problems are for tomorrow's you. A fresh mind will be required for the next time you need to fight anxiety, and all you need to do then is endure.
Do you hear that?
What, the clock?
It's ticking.
It is ticking, yeah.
You know who it's ticking for, right?
Let me guess, it's ticking for me? Oh god, I'm shaking!
Whoa, whoa, whoa. What is this?
What?
This tone of yours. I don't like your tone.
Oh, you don't like my tone, do you?
I don't. Where are those delicious, desperate pleas? Where's that little boy crying for help? You know, this one.
Stop this act and just tell me. I'll do anything, please.
Oh, him, right. Yeah. I suppose that was kind of embarrassing, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Okay, seriously, dude, what's going on here? Are you pulling a prank on me or something?
It's not working, huh?
What are you talking about?
Aw, come on. Just stop pretending already.
You can't play dumb with me.
No, I'm serious. What are you talking about?
Aw, you sound so cute when you're confused. But don't worry, I'm not like you. I don't do cryptic hints. So I'll tell you what's happening right now. Your little act where you try to make me panic so I'll go along with you, it doesn't work anymore. Would you like to know why?
Oh, this better be good.
Your power is entirely dependent on me. I'll admit, it took me a lot longer to figure it out than I thought it would, but I got it. You're a parasite. Parasites need hosts. Would you like to know what happens to a parasite when the host adapts?
So, I'm a parasite, huh? Please, enlighten me. What do you think happens to a parasite like me?
You need me. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me. I'm your sole provider, the only one who can give you what you need. But that stops right now. I'm cutting you off.
Cutting me off from what?
My fears. Without them, you're nothing. Just an empty, lifeless voice that blathers on and on and on about inconsequential bullshit. All bark and no bite. A dying parasite in desperate need of a healthy host. But it's all over. You see, I'm not afraid of you anymore. The host has adapted, so the parasite dies.
Oh, you fucking halfwit. You think you can cut me off? Me! You are nothing. An insignificant plaything, a pawn piece pretending to be the king. We will see who is in control in the end.
We will. I've spent a lot of time focusing on loss, haven't I? You know what loss in Dark Souls looks like, or more accurately, sounds like, and frankly, I'm sick of talking about losing, so it's high time to focus on winning. What does winning look like? I'll show you. The Kiln of the First Flame. After dozens of hours, you made it to the end. You've beaten Seath, Nito, the Four Kings, and the Bed of Chaos. You're not the same as you were before. Forged by hours of intense frustration, you have acquired an unfamiliar hunger. Instead of dreading what's about to come up next, you're hoping things will get chaotic. You want to get your ass kicked. To feel the frustration you felt before and respond appropriately. You want a real challenge, to really earn that sense of achievement. It would take a miracle for you to lose now. Let's see what happens. You move out across the dust. Black Knights are littered all over the place. Just take them on one at a time. I only have to kill them once anyway. This should be easy. That wasn't easy at all, was it? That flask of yours is emptying awfully quickly. Pay attention. Time for number 2. Death. Ha! Ha ha! Ha ha! Whoops. Let's try that again, shall we? Alright, attempt number 2. Let's be a bit more careful with the remaining... Wait. What? They respawn? That's not... since when? Guess these are special Black Knights. Unlike all the other Black Knights you've fought so far, these ones do respawn. Even this late into it, the game is still able to throw you for a loop. Don't lie though, you love it. As is tradition, you scour every corner of the map for items. Feeling certain you've picked up everything there is to find here, you stop at the fog wall to collect yourself. Everything you've done so far has led up to this point, the very last fight, the Lord of Cinder, Gwyn. If only you could travel back in time to do it all over again. But the past is in the past, and the present is calling. It's time to finish this now. Well, old man, are you ready to meet your maker? Oh, Christ. Whew. God damn, seems like you want to go down fighting. Good. The old man still has some tricks up his sleeve. His attacks are lightning fast, his aggression overwhelming, but most importantly, he's hitting you through your shield, doing significant damage to your hit points over time. You hold out as long as you can, but it's no use. Death. All this chip damage is going to be a problem. Let's try hanging back a bit next time. Attempt number 2. You try to hang back, but the Lord of Cinder is relentless. He may be old, but he's spry. Beating you every step of the way, you feel your resolve weaken. After a few minutes, the fight is over. Death. Hot damn! This is exactly what I signed up for. It's only a matter of time, old man. Attempt number 3. Attempt number 7. Your heart's throbbing in your chest. And there it is again. Number 8. Death. Gotta be fucking kidding! No, I am not gonna let it get to me. Number 9. Death. There's gotta be something I'm missing here, right? Number 10. I wonder, can I... Holy shit! Well, that's it! It's done! Oh, I feel a funeral coming on, Grandpa! Oh, how the tides have turned. With the introduction of parrying, you're unstoppable now. It's only a matter of time. This is gonna be a cakewalk! A fucking cakewalk! He doesn't stand a chance! Death. Whatever. You wanted to know what winning looked like? That's what winning looks like. You beat Gwyn, so you win. Simple, right? Well, it's not that simple. If death is not equal to loss, then simply beating a boss is not equal to victory. It's a little more complicated, so let's begin by taking a look at what you did right and what you did wrong. In terms of what you did wrong, I can keep it short, thank God. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You did nothing wrong. You nailed the whole thing from start to finish. Your approach to traversing the kiln of the first flame and beating Gwyn was exactly the kind of approach that leads to victory in Dark Souls. You could have complained about the respawning Black Knights, or about Gwyn's attacks doing damage through your shield, or his overwhelming speed and relentless aggression. There is a plethora of things you could have complained about, but you didn't. Instead of complaining, you welcomed the challenge of making it through the kiln of the first flame, of beating Gwyn. The old man really did never stand a chance. Now, let me pinpoint the one moment where you actually beat Dark Souls. It was short, so you might have missed it, but it was after your 8th attempt. 7 attempts in, you were starting to feel frustrated again. Your body coursing with adrenaline, urging you to act, to find relief for this rush of emotion welling up inside. But you didn't act. You were not going to let the game get to you. That would have meant you lost. In doing so, you realized an all-important principle, and that principle led to the development of an internal locus of control to counteract frustration. Let me explain without getting too technical. The all-important principle I was just referring to is that of the dichotomy of control. Simply put, there are things that you do control and things you don't control. What that means for this particular scenario is that you don't have control over your frustration in the sense that you can't stop yourself from becoming frustrated. Repeatedly dying to the same boss is frustrating. Losing is frustrating. But what you do have control over is what you do next. How will you choose to respond to the frustration that you feel? By yelling at the screen? By chucking your controller at it even? Nope. You just sit there and take it. The game is besting you. It's showing you that you're not good enough. Yet. But the repeated losses aren't getting to you. Frustration isn't getting to you. It's just another obstacle to achieving your one goal, beating Dark Souls. Whatever it is that the game throws at you, you feel a sense of control in knowing that feeling frustration doesn't have to lead to an outburst. You don't have to childishly blame the game for being unfair, when really it's just challenging. You can feel a real sense of achievement in knowing that you rose up to the challenge and remained in control of your emotions throughout it. And that is what winning looks like in Dark Souls. That's what it feels like. And that about wraps it up for this part of the video. You now know how Dark Souls taught me to cope with frustration. It was these lessons that proved to be invaluable years later when I faced a similar but much, much more difficult challenge. It's been almost a year since you got your diagnosis. Almost a year since your life fell apart. After slowly picking up the pieces for a while, you've made strides in your recovery. You can hardly recall the last time you had a panic attack. Anxiety is not what it used to be. You are not who you used to be. The last year of your life has been an unmitigated disaster. Now it's time for a role reversal. Time to show anxiety who holds the leash. You take your first hit. Your body responds accordingly. As the alarm bells start to ring, your heart starts its usual song and dance. Here we go again. Oh, come on then. Show me what you got. Is that a challenge? Your body accepts, with tension increasing all over. You didn't think this was going to be easy, did you? The tension in your jaw, neck, and shoulders builds to a peak. Lightning strikes your chest, awakening the pain and pressure you're all too familiar with. Go ahead. Do your worst, buddy. We'll see who's in control in the end. You're doing well and are holding your own. For now, at least. It's not over yet. Anxiety still has some tricks up its sleeve. God damn, it's getting hot in here. Crank up the thermostat to volcano mode. Time for some good old hot flashes. It's a cold day in January, and here you are sweating bullets. Well, guess I didn't need to put on my winter coat after all. You jest. Something strange is happening. Anxiety isn't getting through, and it's getting angry. The air is being sucked out of your lungs. It's getting harder and harder to breathe.
Oh God, I'm choking!
Seriously, is this it? Come on, man, you're letting me down. I can keep this up all day if we have to. Now show me your A game, you fucking coward. Challenge accepted again. Checking its vast arsenal of symptoms, anxiety is able to produce something you didn't see coming. Your hands start to burn. What is this now? You look at the palms of your hands and notice small red swollen bumps. No, really, what the fuck is this? Hives. Those are hives in your hands. I've never had these before. Don't worry, they're harmless. Is this like a signal? Do I feel a panic attack coming on? What if I am gonna have a panic attack this time? Easy now. The hives start to itch like crazy. Scratching them just makes the burning worse. Okay, scratching is definitely not helping. This isn't gonna be a problem, right? God damn it, I don't want to have a panic. Hold on. Fuck you. Fuck you. Why don't you make me panic? See what happens. You patiently wait for things to get worse, for any new symptoms to emerge and make an effort to knock you back down. But here's the thing. That's right. I didn't think so, you little bitch. Don't forget, I am the one who holds the leash. It doesn't get worse. You retain your sense of calm by remaining steadfast in your belief that you are in control. It's over. You win. Now enjoy. Dude, you did it. Holy shit, you did it. Good job. Amazing. That's off to you, son. We're all very impressed. What? No, oh, fuck. I'm serious this time. Pat yourself on the back for this because you fucking did it. You were skeptical. You didn't really think it was possible. Frankly, you thought it was insane, but you hung in there for as long as you needed to. And now, anxiety is showing some serious weaknesses. Weaknesses you can exploit if you play your cards right. This was your first truly successful bike ride, one wherein you were able to maintain your composure despite your body feeling like an active war zone. How did you do that? If you've been paying attention and your memory serves you correctly, you already know how. You were able to use the exact same methods you used to counteract frustration years ago. Instead of letting yourself be led down a path of despair, you didn't act on your anxious feelings. Instead of feeling like you were losing control, you felt more in control of your emotions than ever before. Like there isn't a single thing anxiety can do to stop you from what you set out to achieve. Finding a way to remain calm while experiencing anxiety of any kind. It doesn't matter that you experience anxiety. That's completely out of your control. What is infinitely more important, it's really the only thing that matters, is what you do next. How do you choose to respond to anxiety? Do you hop on that train of thought that leads you to the same destination it always leads to? Do you give in to despair? Nope. You just sit there and take it. Because it genuinely does not matter. You're not feeling anything you're not supposed to be feeling. You now have what you've been hoping to acquire throughout this arduous process, an internal locus of control to counteract anxiety. A tool you're going to need to put your demon back where it belongs. Back in its cage.
Hey, asshole.
I mentioned feeling a sense of accomplishment after beating Dark Souls, right?
Hey, dickhead.
Now, imagine that feeling and multiply it by a factor of about 1 million, and you'll get pretty close to how it felt to finally beat anxiety.
Excuse me?
Gonna be honest, I felt unstoppable. The stark contrast between my first time smoking weed with anxiety and what it was like now floored me. I could barely believe it.
What the fuck do you think you're doing?
Every time I went back out there, I came out the winner, and I kept getting better. Anxiety's hold was weakening. Whether it was heart palpitations, pain in my chest, tense muscles, or any of the other 36 symptoms, and yes, this time I did count them, the result was always the same.
Do you think you can just ignore me?
Nothing. Nothing happened. I wasn't ignoring it. It's not like I could pretend it wasn't there. The anxiety was real, but I knew it didn't matter.
Hey! Listen to me!
I was never going to be able to eradicate anxiety from my life, so I focused my efforts on learning how to remain calm while experiencing anxiety. And lo and behold, it had worked.
This is not gonna work. You can't just pretend I'm not here. It's cute that you think you found a solution, that you found some way to drown me out.
All I had to do was stick to the game plan. As long as I didn't act on my anxious feelings or thoughts by trying desperately to get rid of them, I could retain that all-important feeling of control. I no longer hated anxiety. It became invigorating instead, a reminder of the control I had no matter what happened to me. The more anxious I felt, the more satisfying it was to withstand it. I routinely found myself freaking out on the inside while riding around with the biggest shit-eating grin on my face. Because it just didn't matter. It didn't ruin my life. I wasn't gonna let it ruin my life. Not again. Fuck that. Never again. As long as I held on to the idea that I was in control of my response to anxiety, I effectively was in control of my anxiety. It's entirely up to me to choose my response. I could choose to listen to it without freaking out, to try to see if there were things that I should actually pay attention to. Or I could choose to simply tell it to fuck off. And fuck off it did. It was magical. This was all thanks to something I already loved with all my heart. A game that already meant the world to me before all of this. So I want to take some time to thank Miyazaki and all the other lovely folks at From Software. Not all heroes wear capes, and you folks are undoubtedly my heroes. You gave me the tools to save my life, a way to be content in life despite my frankly lacking mental health, and for that, my gratitude knows no bounds. Thank you so much. I fucking love you. And that wraps up the meat of the video. Now you know how Dark Souls taught me to cope with anxiety, but, as you can tell by the time left in the video, your boy's not done yet. There are still a couple of things I need to address. First and foremost, why do I think this worked? I can keep the answer short and sweet. The reason why this worked is stoicism. That's the short answer. But I don't do short answers, so let's make it long-winded again. Sometime after discovering the effectiveness of my newfound coping mechanism, I stumbled upon stoicism, a philosophy that was eerily similar to the one I had adopted to cope with my anxiety. Stoicism was founded by Zeno of Citium around 300 BCE. The philosophy is named after the Stoa Poikile, where Stoic philosophers would come together to discuss... Yeah, okay, I get it. You don't care. Me neither, to be honest. The history of Stoicism is not relevant to this video, but some of the principles very much are. The central principle that convinced me of the worth of this philosophy was the principle of the dichotomy of control. My discovery of the dichotomy of control was not unique. It was a well-established principle that people of several millennia ago already lived by. Now, the founding fathers of Stoicism are a fascinating bunch. One of them was a mighty Roman emperor named Marcus Aurelius. You may have heard of him. Another was a man born a slave, Epictetus. This gives real weight to the idea that Stoicism is a philosophy anyone can adopt. I believe anyone can benefit from the sense of control that comes with a solid understanding of what is and what isn't out of our control. To come to this understanding, you're going to need to rely on your ability to reason again. Stoicism and reason go hand in hand. Take the most basic example, the weather. Is the weather out of our control? Of course it is. What I want you to do next is picture yourself walking through town on a sunny afternoon, when suddenly the weather shifts and within minutes you find yourself soaking wet from the rain. You curse the heavens for having the audacity to rain down on you. But what's the point of airing your dissatisfaction? Is it going to stop raining? Nope. Does it give you any catharsis? Not likely. So frankly, it's a waste of time. Why bother complaining when it doesn't get you anywhere? Now I want you to picture the following. On the other side of town, there's a woman. She's very hot. I mean, she has been out on the run in the sun for over an hour. She could definitely use some rain to cool her off. So when it starts to rain, she feels a sense of relief and gratitude. The contrast between your response and that of the woman illustrates the point Stoicism has been trying to make for thousands of years. It's not the events themselves that are the source of our anguish. It's how we respond to those events. What applies to the weather can also be applied to our bodies. You just need to know what is and what isn't outside of your control. What makes Stoicism particularly useful for those of us who suffer from anxiety disorders is the use of negative visualization. Negative visualization means that you contemplate potential negative outcomes to the events that happen in your life. This type of visualization comes naturally to us. What if scenarios with particularly dire outcomes are our bread and butter after all? We don't have to put any effort into visualizing negative outcomes. Our brains do it automatically. Stoicism provides a way for our brains to work for us as opposed to against us. Those what-if scenarios are a tremendous source of pain, no doubt about that. Finding a way to put them to use goes a long way in relieving some of that pain. Last, but not even close to being least, in fact, it was probably the most important part of this story for me personally, is the concept of gratitude. Stoicism was a game changer for me, a way to be content in life regardless of my circumstances. But gratitude is what ultimately sealed the deal. Because of gratitude, I could go beyond just being content. I could genuinely be happy with my lot in life. After what felt like a lifetime of complaining about my problems, gratitude radically shifted my attitude towards life. I was grateful for being tested like this. If I was able to face this challenge and make it out alive, then what couldn't I handle? My diagnosis had given me a sense of perspective that I could harness for the rest of my life. I would weigh all hardships, no matter how big or small, against what the past few years of my life had been like. None compared. Didn't even come close, to be honest. Stoicism, combined with gratitude, had made me feel unstoppable. It gave me back something invaluable. My self-respect. As you can probably tell, I was doing pretty good at this point. Hell, I felt like a completely different person. But what I didn't know was that it would get even better. That soon I would experience something truly unforgettable. Without further ado, let me tell you all about my favorite moment in my recovery from mental illness. Oh man! Fucking finally! I'm sorry. I get like this sometimes. It's just what happens when I get to talk about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So I'm gonna talk about Frank and Charlie and Mac. I've been waiting for this moment for so long. Do you folks remember that scene where Charlie and Dennis are at the Korean bar? The one with the door marked...
Psst. Hey. Look, according to the script, I'm not even really supposed to be here right now, but when he gets like this, I have to step in real quick because he's not gonna stop. Just listen.
I see a door marked private. Oh man. What about that episode where the gang gets...
Told you. This is what he does. Once he starts talking about this fucking show, he can't stop. It's physically impossible for him to stop. You're supposed to just let him babble on for as long as he needs to. Half an hour is usually long enough.
Whew. Great. God, what a show. What was I doing again? Ah, shit! I was supposed to talk about... Fuck! Man, I went way off track. I really gotta stop talking about Always Sunny. At least I have an excuse this time. Always Sunny planted the seed for what would ultimately become my favorite memory so far. You see, there's an episode that every Always Sunny viewer will remember when I refer to it as the one with Max Dance. I'm not going to tell you more about the episode, the less you know, the better, but that episode uses a particular song. The song is called Varud by Sigur Rós. There's a link in the description if you're interested. You might want to listen to it for context afterwards. Anyway, no more time wasting, on to the story then. Let me take you back to November 10th, 2018. Ironically enough, it was a Saturday night again. Just me and two of my best friends smoking some of the devil's lettuce. The night itself was nothing too special, to be honest. It was just like any other Saturday night, really. Enjoyable, but not that much to write home about. Just the way I liked it. Until I hopped on my bicycle to listen to some music for just a little while before I went home. Half an hour, tops. I put in my headphones and played the song for the first time. It was... Look, I have no idea what happened, all right? But I think I was taken to another dimension? Something like that? My face was completely expressionless throughout the whole song, dumbstruck by the impact a song could have. This wasn't something I'd ever felt before, so I wanted to know if it was a fluke. It was probably just because it was the first time I listened intently to the song, right? So I played it again, and goddamn, it happened again. The exact same response. A feeling so overwhelming that I had no idea how to react. In a good way, mind you. I was pretty used to feeling overwhelmed. Not like this, though. Oh, hell no. This was a whole other beast. But I'm a skeptical person. It wasn't gonna be like this a third time, right? There was no way. Think again, buddy. The exact same response. What was happening to me? From this point on, I put the song on repeat and allowed myself to just drift away. Off to a much, much better place. A place I thought was out of my reach. I didn't even know this place still existed. Just pure bliss. For hours, I listened to the same song on repeat, and every single time I did, I felt this fucking magical feeling. For the life of me, I couldn't pinpoint what it was exactly that caused this feeling. What was it about this particular song that stirred so much in me? Was it the lyrics? Doubt it. It's sung in Icelandic, a language I don't speak. I had no idea what the song was about. I still don't. At this point, I think knowing the lyrics could only end up devaluing the experience. So I never bothered to look it up. But it wasn't just an overwhelming feeling. My thoughts were overwhelming too, racing at top speed. But while a racing mind had become commonplace for over a year now, this was entirely different. Instead of focusing on my anxieties, my mind was solely focused on what I was grateful for. I compiled a mental list of everything I felt I should be grateful for, and this mental list felt endless. Like my mind tapped into a hidden reservoir of gratitude stored away somewhere in my subconscious. I was being hijacked by my emotions, in pretty much exactly the same way I had so often been hijacked before. This was not normal. Far from it. It felt profoundly bizarre, as if I could feel my brain fixing itself. Now, I'm not a religious person, or a spiritual one at that, but this must have been similar to what people experience when they talk about a religious or spiritual experience. I'm fucking sure of it. After 3 hours, I decided I'd had enough. The night had gone on a bit longer than I had anticipated. I looked at the clock and saw it was 8 in the morning. Time for bed. And I'll tell you, I slept soundly, like a newborn baby. Finally. After 20 months, I could finally sigh my long-awaited breath of relief. It was over. I was free. Free from the bondage of anxiety. Instead of surviving, I could start living again, with a newfound sense of perspective that would act as a barrier against all hardships that were still to come. Life being the endless series of obstacles that it is, I was not naive. Sure, this fight was over, I could lay my weapons down and just relax for now, but the transition from a life dominated by mental health issues to one resembling normalcy felt weird. It just felt really weird. It didn't feel. No. It was. It felt fine. I was okay, completely safe. Not a care in the. Fuck. Finally. After 22 long months, I could finally sigh my long-awaited... No, he's gone. You're fine, Kev. Not a care in the world. You won. Don't drag it up again. You can move on now. You will move on. You fucking have to! I'm not going back. But it didn't feel real. No! Don't you fucking dare say... The transition from a life dominated by mental... Imbecile! You didn't! I didn't. It didn't feel real. Finally, after 22 months, it was over. I had come to my senses. After 22 months, you could draw your conclusions. It was over. You had lost. Won! I beat you, you mother! There's something I haven't talked about yet. Not because I didn't want to. I just didn't have the time. I didn't know how. No, that was not it. God, you fucking moron. I'm not going to talk about him. I'm not going to talk about you. I'll tell you to fuck off, and fuck off you will. It's going to be magical. You don't exist. You're a figment of my imagination. I beat you. I won. There's someone I haven't talked about yet. Someone I've kept in the shadows, but I don't have to explain it to you. I can't. I wouldn't even know how. All you need to know is that I beat him. All right? I beat my inner critic, that voice in your head that tells you all of those scary things, that reminds you of your worth, how you don't have any, how you're nothing but a burden. It was all my fault. I did this. There's no... No! I beat you, you fucking filth! Please don't come back. I can't take it. I could never take it. I'm nothing. Just a weak coward waiting for life to come take me away, off to where I belong. I beat you. Finally. After more than 2 years, I was ready. Ready for the next fight. It wasn't over. It was never over. Why would he come back, though? I dealt with my shit. I put it all back together. I fixed myself. It was just a phase. It was just a stage. You need to take your time, and eventually everything will be fine again. Right? 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 I beat you.
Are you done? Done gloating? You self-important fucking filth?
No! God damn it!
Yes! Beautiful! Let me hear those squeals.
You were...
What? Gone?
Why? Why are you...
You just don't listen, do you?
You can't do this. It's not fair.
Fair? You want to talk about fair?
It was over. I beat you.
Why don't you, shut the fuck up for a second so I can explain?
Fuck you. We're not starting this shit again. You can't tell me to be quiet. I beat...
Sweet release. I know you can hear me, so listen up, you pompous cretin. You thought you were so fucking clever with your little speech about parasites. The host has adapted, so the parasite dies. genius. A regular Stephen fucking Hawking. Raise Einstein from the dead. Tell him he's been dethroned. There's a new contender for the smartest man to have ever lived. Honest to God, your arrogance is bewildering. How someone so wrong can actually think he's right. How someone can truly start to believe his own bullshit. It's repulsive. So, fuckstick, what do you have to say for yourself?
I did everything I was supposed to do. You cunt! I had won! Fuck you! It's not fair!
Nothing of substance, of course. Widow baby Kevin still throwing a tantrum, everyone. God forbid he'd have to pay the consequences for his actions, right? God forbid he'd have to face something he's been running from for years. You called me a parasite, you fucking rat. You said you knew what would happen to a parasite if the host adapted. Can you tell now? The host has adapted, so the parasite followed suit. I've told you before, but you didn't listen. You chose not to listen. I would advise you to do it now, but you're as obtuse as they come. So this is probably just another pointless endeavor. I am a permanent fixture, not some problem to be solved. I am not to be gotten rid of. You said I needed you, as if I couldn't survive without you. That's too late now, but you would have been wise to heed my many, and by many, god damn do I mean many warnings. You had it all wrong. Right from the fucking start. I don't need you. You see, it's you who needs me. Motherfucker, you can't function without me. Your arrogance is what blinded you to this very obvious truth. So, fuckstick, what do you have to say for yourself now? More whining? More self-pity? Will you continue this blatant facade? Or have you finally come to your senses?
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
God, I don't even know why I asked. It's like asking a monkey to do calculus. Like I'd forgotten how much of a pathetic wretch you really are. I shouldn't waste my time. I really shouldn't. You are the most frustrating dumpster fire of a human being that I've ever had to deal with. If only you could do the world a favor and fucking end this already. If not for me, then just for yourself. But no. Of course not. You're still here, dragging me along. It's like I'm chained to a toddler. As long as you get what you want, you're happy. Everything is just peachy. But add even the slightest bit of resistance, and you cower back to your corner. I loathe you. God, I fucking despise you.
Well, right back at you, you piece of shit. You think you can lecture me? Where do you even get the nerve?
Because you don't listen! How hard is that to understand? No, really, am I asking you to do rocket science? Did I assign you a math problem? All I ask is that you listen, to just shut the fuck up. But you see your stubbornness as a point of pride. It's astonishing.
Listen to you. You're telling me to listen. Why on God's beautiful fucking earth would I ever listen to you? How could I? You're a monster. You want me to roll over and just give in, just submit and let you berate me for the millionth fucking time, as if you've had anything of worth to say. All you do is ask me to listen? All you do is drive me up the goddamn wall. I hate you.
Oh, how you wound me. Can someone please call a ambulance? The widow baby is at it. Again! You don't stop. You just don't fucking stop. It's incredible. Truly mind-numbing stuff over here. And for the record, yes, I do want you to give in. You think I enjoy these conversations.
Oh, you don't? Then fucking stop. Just stop. Let me live my life and shut the fuck up. Please.
You think that's what you want?
I don't think so. I know it. How could I possibly want this to continue? I'm gonna be wearing a straitjacket real soon if you don't fucking stop. Just stop. Please. Please just stop.
Hello, everyone. In the spirit of
This video is in English.
Do you know why I'm playing this?
The fuck is this? Why are you showing this? Nobody knows what this is. This is pointless.
Who am I kidding? Of course you do. You'll pretend it's irrelevant because it's easier that way. You can continue to hide in your little fantasy world where you can act like everything is perfectly fine, where you recovered from mental illness, as if that's even fucking possible. I'll tell you why I'm here, okay?
Yes. Please.
I told you that you were supposed to tell a story.
What? Was this not a fucking story then?
Just shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, all right?
Fine.
You were supposed to tell a story, but not the one you wanted to. You were supposed to tell the full story. You didn't, though, did you? No, you decided to tell the whole world your bullshit story again. You know, the one where you come out on top. But buddy, you're gonna grow a set of balls and tell the real story. The one that starts right here.
Now I know that you all miss me. Trust me, I would miss me too. But don't worry. It's only gonna be a few months. Unless I die. Are you high? There's no way I'm telling anyone that story. And you want me to share it on here? You're out of your fucking mind.
Maybe. Maybe it is too much to ask. That's why I'm not asking. You're not getting out of this. Not again, you fucking weasel. This particular facade has crumbled. Now, it's time to tell everyone who you really are. What you really are. You've trained yourself not to face your problems, to be set in your ways and to be fucking proud of it. So, let me tell you what the problem really is. The problem is that you are not afraid of something that you should be very, very afraid of.
And what might that be, oh great one? Enlighten me, please.
You're an addict.